Quentin Grimes just called out Jalen Brunson and the New York Knicks fans, and we have to talk about this. So what's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here, and we're going to jump right into the video today because, as I just said, Quentin Grimes called out Jalen Brunson and the New York Knicks fans after the Knicks beat the Detroit Pistons last night in a game that ended in a controversial call where DiVincenzo was not called for a foul on Ausar Thompson, despite the fact that some people, including the referees, later disagreed with the call. So let's just jump right into it and see what Grimes had to say, because he said that if Jalen Brunson and them were on the other side of the call, they're going to get that call. So essentially what he's saying is when DiVincenzo ran for sort of a loose ball and kind of flipped Ausar Thompson, that the Knicks would have gotten that call because Jalen Brunson is on that team. Now, Quentin, you've known Jalen Brunson for a few years. Throughout most games, including the game against the Detroit Pistons, Jalen Brunson was the victim of assault and battery by the other team, yet there were very few foul calls against him. He was getting hacked, he was clearly bothered by it, and yet Brunson's going to get that call. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the worst call of the NBA season was when Jalen Brunson was called for a foul against the Houston Rockets, who don't have a Jalen Brunson, who don't have a star, all-star player. So what the hell are you talking about? Clearly, Quentin Grimes is pretty upset with the New York Knicks and the way that things were handled because he got benched for a man who was better than him at the sport of basketball. And clearly, he's not over it if he's going to go out and call Jalen Brunson out, a guy who he shared the backcourt with, who worked very well with him. But whatever, this is where we're at now. And Grimes wasn't alone because his coach, Monty Williams, said that was the absolute worst call of the season. Enough is enough. He went off on the refs and then walked out of the press conference after the Pistons' 2-point loss to the Knicks. Now, let me just say something about Monty Williams. Had Monty Williams once had a good rotation in that basketball game, and I don't know, maybe not played Simone Fontecchio as the power forward when Precious Achiuwa was in the game just cleaning up offensive rebounds, then maybe the Pistons would have won. But clearly, Monty Williams has zero idea how to use an NBA rotation. It's very obvious. The man played Isaiah Livers constantly. Isaiah Livers shot under 40% from the field with the Pistons, so I don't really understand why. But now he's going to go blame the refs. After the Knicks shot less free throws than the Pistons, the Knicks got called for one more foul than the Pistons. The Knicks were on the wrong end of the calls against the Pistons, but one call goes the Knicks' way. And the entire Detroit Pistons and their fan base have an embolism like their team wasn't fouling Brunson all night, like their coach wasn't making boneheaded substitutions all night. Look, y'all didn't lose to the Knicks because of that call. Y'all lost to the Knicks because outside of the Washington Wizards, you are the worst team in the NBA. Don't blame us for falling in the draft lottery and instead of getting Wemby, getting Ausar Thompson, whose side note has been awesome for them. Shut up! Y'all suck! Y'all should want to lose this basketball game. This gets you more eyes on you. If you beat the Knicks, all it is, the Knicks lost to the Pistons. That's funny. No one cares about you. Now people care. And you lost. You're closer to getting that chance to maybe get the first overall pick again. Maybe. Or maybe you'll fall to fifth because, that's what happened last year. But odds are, considering when you stack it up from last year, you're almost certainly going to end up with a top 3 pick this year as long as you keep losing games. Now, I know you can't tell NBA players to go out there and lose games. That is highly offensive to the NBA players. It's also a casual's mindset to believe that any NBA player would go out there and think, oh, my team's tanking, I'll just lose today. No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Players don't do that. They play to win. The reason why I'd say around 95% of NBA players get into the NBA in the first place has a lot to do with the fact that they're some of the most competitive people on the planet and the only people who are even similarly competitive to NBA players are athletes in the NFL, the NHL, boxing, MMA, soccer, baseball, other professional athletes. Now, soccer's not a sport because sports don't end 0-0, and our country shouldn't be getting excited for that. But we're not, I don't know, football digest because we're international. Shout out Canada. But really, I don't understand why the Pistons are so upset. Y'all got the better end of the calls. Grimes is freaking out about this, and he's also calling out the Knicks fans. Quentin Grimes was surprised that Knicks fans booed Evan Fournier tonight. So was I. And then quoted, "It was kind of not pleasant to see from the fans, but I thought he did a lot for this team. When I was here, he was always on time, always professional, but that's the Knicks fans for you, which is how it goes." All right, look, I understand that Evan Fournier was put in an impossible position, and I literally said last night on the postgame that I truly believe that Evan Fournier got done dirty by the New York Knicks. They should have traded him earlier. They should have done something. They put his NBA career in danger by putting him on the bench that long. It still sort of hangs around in jeopardy. I mean, the man, outside of his time with the Orlando Magic, he's now, to a degree, bounced around. This is now his Nuggets 15 in the NBA. It's not that many for a shooter like him. But he hasn't been able to stick with one since getting traded from the Magic to the Celtics. Part of that is because he wanted to go to the Knicks anyway. But now he's on the Pistons. He's going to have to find a new home again, or maybe he'll stick around with Detroit. Who knows? But look, I understand why Knicks fans booed Fournier. I was surprised too. I'm going to agree with Grimes on this, but I'm not going to agree with that's Knicks fans for you. Quentin Grimes knows better. He played in MSG enough to know that many, many people in Madison Square Garden don't really know that much about the Knicks. So don't call them Knicks fans. Look, I'm sorry, but it's the most famous arena in the world. It's where Billy Joel plays constantly. It's where he always performs. MSG is not just the home of the Knicks. It's the home of the New York Rangers, who also have an awesome fan base. It's the home of the biggest concerts on the planet. It's the home of the biggest professional bull riding of the planet. It's the home of one of the biggest UFC events every single year. MSG is not just for the Knicks. And so many tourists just show up there because it's kind of near Times Square. MSG's in a pretty favorable location. I live right next to it. It's constantly loud outside because there's tourists everywhere. And now you're going to go and say that's Knicks fans for you. You can't expect everyone to understand what's going on with Evan Fournier, and you're not. What's happening is Grimes is pissed that they lost. You're allowed to be pissed. You're allowed to be pissed at the call. But don't take it out on a team that's just flat out better than yours. That doesn't make sense. And also, I understand he's upset with the Knicks. I understand he's probably upset with Tibbs. Grimes last year was so important to the Knicks. He got that steal right after getting injured. We're never going to forget that. We gave Grimes a huge, huge ovation when he came into the game. Knicks fans like Quentin Grimes. He was huge for us in the playoffs. He was our starting shooting guard on the best run we've had in 10 years. Don't go and ruin that because you're upset you got benched for a player who's better than you. Sorry. That's life, dude. Quentin Grimes this season has averaged 7.5 points per game with 2 rebounds, 1 assist, shot under 40% from the field, and 36% from 3, which is lower than his career average, which is 38. He's also shooting lower than his field goal percentage and his effective field goal percentage, meaning the average amount of shots that he takes in total, below average. PER, below average. Win shares, below average. I'm sorry, Grimes, but this is a bad year for you, dude. You're not playing well. You got benched because of it. You were afraid to shoot the ball. You constantly were going 0 for 1 and 1 for 2 in a starting lineup when you're supposed to be our shooter. That's why you got benched, because you were afraid. I understand the shot distribution sucked. I understand that Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett, and Julius Randle did not fit with the Knicks. I talked about it literally every day. I understand it's not all your fault. But it also partially is because Dante DiVincenzo came in and changed things and has had the best run of his NBA career, meaning it's not just all on the Knicks' bad roster construction prior to the trades. It's also on you a little bit, dude. I'm sorry. And if you look here, if you compare the two this season, these numbers are small, so I have to lean in, so I have to talk a little quieter so I don't blow your guys' eardrums. DiVincenzo's averaging 14 points per game this year. Grimes is averaging half of that. DiVincenzo is averaging more rebounds and assists than Quentin Grimes. DiVincenzo also, if you look at the very bottom right-hand corner of your screen, Donte DiVincenzo has a higher defensive rating than Quentin Grimes this season, and obviously a higher offensive rating. He shot better from three-point range. When Grimes was supposed to be our shooter, he shot 36% from three. Donte DiVincenzo shooting damn near 42% and breaking out completely. And if you want to compare their minutes evenly, Donte DiVincenzo averages 19.6 points to Grimes' 13. If you look at these numbers, it shows one thing. Donte DiVincenzo is better at basketball than Quentin Grimes. Grimes is going to call Brunson out in the Knicks and say if Brunson was on the other team, he'd get that call. He didn't get calls all night, bro. That wasn't even a call on Brunson. Nothing was. It was calls on Josh Hart. It was a non-call on Donte DiVincenzo. And look, I will say, just because I feel like it's important to mention, that was a foul on DiVincenzo. It was. It was. I'm not going to pretend like it wasn't. But at the same time, there were a ton of missed calls when Jalen Brunson drove to the paint and got assaulted. Those weren't called. We weren't saying anything about it then. So let's not freak out about one call when the refs missed around a dozen on Brunson alone. So let's relax. Let's remember what good that Quentin Grimes did for the New York Knicks. And wish Quentin Grimes and Evan Fournier, and also shout out Malachi Flynn, Knicks legend. I hope they all do great on the Pistons. I hope Grimes stays with the Pistons for a while, becomes a starting shooting guard next to Cade, because Jaden Ivey doesn't at all fit in that role, and Grimes fits very perfectly next to Cade. And they have a fruitful career together, and the Pistons are able to overcome being one of the laughingstocks of the last since Blake Griffin was there. Like and subscribe. Turn on post notifications. Comment down below what you think on all this. Was it a foul? Let me know. We'll talk about it in the comments. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Have a great day, guys, and go Knicks.